The Aging with Options show is about seniors and for seniors and their loved ones. Our passion is to provide interesting, timely, relevant content for seniors and their families in the Louisville area. I'm Chris McCutcheon. Our topic today is elder law. My guests are Bernie and Rhoda Fowler, elder law attorneys. Bernie is the managing partner of Kentucky Elder Law, Kentucky's largest elder law firm in Kentucky. Bernie and his wife Rhoda have been sharing some valuable information on navigating much of the legal landscape that today's seniors are facing. We've spent a great deal of time, Bernie and Rhoda, talking about nursing home care, but a lot of people see that will end up choosing to stay in their own homes and be cared for and age in the comfortable surroundings of their home as opposed to a facility. There are a number of agencies that provide options for in-home care, but some people may choose to hire a private caregiver to perform that care. As attorneys working with many seniors over the years contemplating an in-home care approach, what's your advice, Rhoda, as far as hiring an established agency versus hiring a private caregiver?
100% for the agency, 0 for the private caregiver. Private caregivers are generally cheaper, but cheaper comes at a big cost. First of all, if a private caregiver falls in mom's home, mom's homeowner's insurance will not cover the private caregiver. The caregiver is an employee, not a visitor. If the caregiver gets severely injured, like breaking her back, she will sue mom, own mom's home, and all of mom's assets. A second problem is that private caregivers generally want to be paid off the books. Paying somebody off the books is illegal. If you pay somebody off the books, when you go to the Medicaid office eventually to apply for Medicaid, when somebody's in a nursing home, the Medicaid office can look back over 5 years worth of bank statements, bank checks, tax records, financial statements. They will question checks made out to cash. They will question large amounts of cash withdrawals. You cannot tell the Medicaid office that you paid an illegal or improper private caregiver off the books without having Medicaid say, that does not count as a legitimate expense. Medicaid will then say you gave the money to your child, you cannot prove you did otherwise, and they will impose a very severe penalty for a time period in which they will not pay for the nursing home care. Agencies do things like have workers' comp insurance if somebody is injured, bond the worker in case anything disappears from mom's home, do 50-state background criminal checks to make sure the person does not have a criminal background, do driving record checks. You don't want someone with a bad driving record driving mom to the doctor. We'll check on somebody's financial records. You don't want someone who is going through bankruptcy to be in mom's home because they're more tempted to steal than someone who is not hard up for money. An agency will do health checks, will check for TB, for HIV. They will also have a substitute available if the caregiver is sick. They will also send supervisors to check on the work that the caregiver is doing. So yes, agencies cost more, and yes, they're worth every additional penny.
Wow, very well. How do you recommend that folks evaluate one from the other? I mean, you gave another number of things to look for, but how does a person determine whether or not an agency is going to be able to do those things for them?
When you meet with the agency, you need to come prepared with a list of questions for them. You need to ask, do you have workers' comp insurance? Do you have bonding of workers? Do you do the background checks? Do you do health checks? There are some agencies here in town that do not do any of that, that have the people who work there as independent contractors with none of the coverage, which provides none of the protection that a good agency provides.
Very well. About a minute and a half to go in this segment. Bernie, can we touch on guardianship for the last remaining time that we have? Or
Sure. It's more than a minute and a half topic, but a guardianship is a last resort. It is stripping someone of their legal rights effectively, legally, they become the child and the child becomes the parent. So it is used when there are no other alternatives. So if mom has a good power of attorney and a good health care surrogate, normally you will never need a guardianship. In fact, the guardianship court in Jefferson County generally won't even entertain a guardianship application. But a lot of people say, well, I'll sign the power of attorney when I need it, which means never. And they just refuse to take any steps. And then suddenly nobody has the authority to speak for them financially or legally. And you end up in the guardianship court, which is a very formal process. In Kentucky, it requires a filing. There's a 3-month wait. There's a jury trial. There's examination by 3 independent parties. It's a process that takes a while and should be avoided if at all possible, even though we're in guardianship all the time, because a lot of people don't do what they should do.
Very well. Certainly a topic to cover in much more detail. Lots more to be said about guardianship on another segment upcoming. Bernie and Rhoda Fowler are my guests in the studio. Bernie and Rhoda are elder care law attorneys. Their firm is Kentucky Elder Law. We're speaking about a variety of important topics today, namely Medicaid planning and asset preservation within the ever-shifting rules. We'll take a quick break and be back with the Aging with Options show and my guests, Bernie and Rhoda Fowler, on 970 WGTK.